Now, this super potentially lethal weapon that's being developed, it's being developed by 23-year-old guys with acne eating pizzas into the night in Palo Alto. Who's securing it? Who's on it? Who's responsible that China doesn't go in and just steal all the weights of the models? If you steal all the weights of a model, you've got the model. We were asked before, what's the good part of AI? There's amazing stuff. It's really going to change our lives to the better in many, many ways. First and foremost, in health. We're going to lead longer lives, better lives, much higher quality of our health, especially as we age. So it's going to change that. It's going to allow us amazing, pinpointed education for kids, because it's going to have the perfect teacher that at every moment knows every child exactly where her problems are, where her challenges are, how to explain in the best way, how to reinforce. We're going to have new materials. It's going to change our lives in many, many ways, and it's scary. It's scary. Also, the Industrial Revolution was scary, because until then, you grew up in your village, and you basically, that's what you knew. And suddenly, there's trains, so you can go see a city like London for the first time, and it's scary, but obviously, we're happy that the Industrial Revolution happened. What I want to do over the next few minutes is give you a perspective of a head of state. In my previous life, I ran a couple of cybersecurity companies, so I also have that perspective, as also defense minister of the state of Israel. I want to share with you where AI is now, where it's going, and what it means to us, and what we need to do. AI is getting smarter every day. It's getting smarter. Right now, the degree of intelligence of AI would be, I would say, of college students, mostly, across most fields. The most advanced AI models right now are pretty good in many things. They're not the smartest person you've ever met, but they're smart. They're smart. The way the model companies, the fundamental or frontier model companies are making it smarter, and I'm talking about Meta, Google, OpenAI, etc., there's three parameters that they multiply each other, and they're working on all three. The first one is more compute, okay? So more compute, more data centers, more GPUs. Later on today, NVIDIA is going to announce its earnings, and we'll see how many GPUs they've sold. And more compute means smarter AI, though it's a logarithmic function. So I'll just try and illustrate. Let's say you multiply the compute 4 times, you're not going to get 4 times the intelligence. You'll get maybe 1.5 times the intelligence, or 40%. So there's a diminishing return, yet still more compute is smarter. And that's why this year, we're looking at about $450 billion that the companies are going to spend this year on data centers, GPUs, et cetera, et cetera. Next year, talking about roughly $600 billion. And within a couple of years, the annual expense just of data centers and compute for AI is moving towards $1 trillion a year. The second way to make AI smarter is more data and better data. Now, all the LLM companies have already long ago swallowed the whole internet. The internet's there, but they need more. They need, and just think about it. AI is like a baby. The more you expose that, the baby doesn't know anything at the beginning, but he has a potential. He has a neural network in his brain. But if he's placed in a dark room for his whole life, he won't know anything. But if he's exposed to 8 languages and to physics, etc., he'll get smarter. So now there's the big race for data. Each company has its own unique advantages. Google has YouTube, which is a tremendous amount of video. Meta has WhatsApp and Facebook. Tesla has the cars, the cameras on the cars that can see that a tree shakes when there's wind. That's data. Grok has Twitter. So everyone has their own, and there's a big race for data. That also increases the intelligence of the models. Then the third multiplier is algorithmic. algorithms, smarter methodology, breakthroughs, and that's usually not a linear function, but it's a step function. Suddenly you have a breakthrough. Like one of the big breakthroughs over the past several months has been, until then there was the teaching the model, which is several months in the data centers, and then there's inference, when you ask the model a question. Now they've added one little feature, which is time to think. And it turns out that if you give the model, the model doesn't need to answer right away, but you give it even 15 seconds to think, it can improve the quality of the answer about 2 orders of magnitude. So that's a breakthrough. Okay, DeepSeek had a bunch of breakthroughs. There's going to be more and more breakthroughs. So basically, it's A times B times C. More compute, more data, more breakthroughs, algorithmic breakthroughs. Based on the current trajectory and the expenses that are planned, we're looking at reaching AGI, and let's just define the AGI. AGI is when the model is as smart as the smartest people in the world. Let's call it, the 1,000 smartest people in the world, but on all topics or most topics of life. So on everything, it's as smart as the smartest 1,000 people. Really, really smart. General consensus, well, there's a big debate. It can take 20 years, but there's a sense that based on the current trajectories, it'll take about a year or 2. So we're looking at roughly 27, give or take. By the way, just like we know in Moore's law, that every 18 months for many, many years, the size of the semiconductors, et cetera, and the chips and speed and strength doubled. There's the Altman law, the Sam Altman law, which says in AI, and this has been the case over the past 6-7 years, every year it gets cheaper by a full order of magnitude, 10 times. So just if we run the numbers, in Moore's law, it would take about 7 years to increase in 1 order of magnitude 10 times. And here in 7 years, we're talking about 7 years, that's 332, yeah, that's 100 million times stronger in 7 years. So the pace is crazy. Now, once we reach, and we're getting there, very advanced programming capabilities of AI and thought abilities in algorithms, the first users of these AGI, really smart agents, is going to be the LLM companies themselves, the model companies themselves. They're going to be the first. So right now, let's say Tesla might have 200 amazing algorithm engineers for AI, and Meta might have 500 of them, and Google might have 1,000. But once they reach that level of intelligence, that the AI itself can be as smart as the engineers, the algorithm engineers in Meta, they'll hire, let's say, 100 million of them, because it's just processing power. And then we enter a moment that is called the intelligence explosion, because then the pace, you're not just going to have some brainy combination of folks from India, America, Israel, China sitting together. You're going to also have 100 million really smart agents that are developing new breakthroughs. And then we're entering, like, shit, it's the fan. That's a crazy moment. And then we're going to, and this is speculation, but it's supposed to happen over the next few years, we're entering the era of superintelligence. Now, what is superintelligence? And let's talk about intelligence. Let's for the sake of simplicity, say that, just talk about IQs. All right, let's say AI was at 100, 120, 140. In superintelligence, it could be at 400. Now, what does that mean? What does 400 mean? In intelligence, you could be better at something, all right? You're smarter at physics, so you'll be much, much smarter at physics. But that's just one layer. The real layer, there's something that is called emergence. As you become more intelligent, okay, let's say you're a baby, a 1-year-old baby, there are whole dimensions of thought that you don't grasp and you cannot grasp. For example, irony. A 1-year-old kid doesn't understand irony or algebra. Now, even if you sit down with that boy for 12 hours and you really, really try and explain algebra, he won't get it. He won't get it. He doesn't have the capacity at that intelligence level to grasp. So as you grow up and as your intelligence grows from 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 100, once in a while, new dimensions of thought emerge. Ones that you didn't know that exist, and even if someone tried to explain, you wouldn't know. So there's no reason to assume that emergence will stop. As AI gets smarter, 150, 180, 200, 230, 250, new bubbles of thought, dimensions of thinking will emerge. Problem is, there are going to be dimensions that we won't understand. And even if it tries to explain to us, we won't understand. It's sort of like trying to explain what the color red means to a blind person. You can try for hours, they won't understand, because they just won't. And then we'll have superintelligence versus us will be similar to us versus a 2-year-old child, all right? That's where, now, what are the big challenges? Basically, at macro level, there's 2 huge challenges of AI at a geopolitical level and global level. The first one is the race to the arms race. A nation that achieves superintelligence first will be able to neutralize all other nations before they achieve it. And we can't begin to imagine how they would go about it. We just don't know, but it could be swarms of mosquito-sized drones. It could be, let's say there's a bad actor that wants to hit America, so it says, let's develop a biovirus that will only hit Caucasians that have this certain characteristics or whatever. I can't even imagine, but it'll fairly easily be able to do it in 20 different ways, manipulation, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a race. There's a race between, primarily right now, America and China. The second problem, and I think this is the most fundamental, uncracked problem of AI, it's alignment. And alignment, in simple terms, means that AI will serve our needs, human beings' needs, and not go and do its thing. And like the simplest example is let's say I get an AI robot, one of those Optimuses of Tesla, and I tell it, I want my home to always be clean. So the best way for him to do it is to clean my home and kill me. Then for sure, it'll stay clean. All right? That's misalignment. Hopefully it won't do that. But here's the thing. We are seeking that an inferior group in terms of intelligence, meaning us, humans, will be able to control on an ongoing basis, 5 years into the future, 10 years, 20 years, intelligence that is way more superior than us. And we actually think that that's going to work. So you have 1-year-olds who are building a system, and they expect 30-year-olds to adhere to that system. And in human history, in the history of the world, there's no precedent whatsoever, ever, of inferior intelligence controlling superior intelligence for a long time. Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens were smarter and wiped them out. Cortez came to Mexico with 600 fighters with superior technology, superior strategy, and wiped out 500,000 Aztecs. Because if you're way, way, way smarter, you'll figure it out. So that particular problem has not been solved yet, the problem of alignment. And here's the challenge. Well, recently, the best way to deal with alignment is to do it slowly, to do everything really slowly. And that was sort of the initial mission of OpenAI. We know that AI is coming. We want to introduce it at a pace to allow society to build the guardrails. And that makes sense. But what happened was something called competition. And there's a bunch of other companies and other nations i.e. China with DeepSeek, who we thought they were 2 years behind, 5 years behind, but they're 5 minutes behind. So it's as if you're on a road race, someone's after you, trying to come to you, and but you're driving on very slippery winter roads with oil and all that. So let's say you have a month advance of your competition, you'll drive slowly. You can afford to drive slowly on that very slippery road. But what if the competition behind you with a rifle or something is just 1 minute behind you? Suddenly you're told, oh no, they're not a month behind, they're a minute behind. So you're gonna have to press the gas and speed, but then you might lose control. That's where we are right now. The big AI companies are speeding forward, and the force of competition has lowered the degree of the guardrails that they're putting in place, the degree of investment in alignment. So the ratio between their alignment and security teams versus the product teams has changed. They want to run forward. Everyone wants to be first to frontier. 48 hours ago, Grok released a version which has crazy stuff there, crazy stuff that, adult content, talking to people. It's the single biggest download in the world right now. So everyone's speeding forward. And that's why the biggest challenge is someone has to take care of the security gaps that this race creates. And you walk through all the details. There's so many, but that's a full-time job for all of us to take care of the gaps while they race forward. And given that AI, and especially superintelligence, is such a potent, powerful secret sauce for any nation, this is more sensitive, in my opinion, than Project Manhattan during World War II and the race between the Nazis and America. But you all saw the movie Oppenheimer, I assume, or most of you. So remember, there was all this secrecy and no one knew. Pretty remarkable feat of only the United States could pull it off. So now, this super potentially lethal weapon that's being developed, it's being developed by 23-year-old guys with acne eating pizzas into the night in Palo Alto. Who's securing it? Who's on it? Who's responsible that China doesn't go in and just steal all the weights of the models? If you steal all the weights of a model, you've got the model. No one. So that's where we are right now. And it means that the United States of America has to take leadership. There's no one else that can. No one else can take leadership of this project. Has to get on top of things and find the right balance between speeding forward so we have an advantage on totalitarian countries, on bad players. America is a good player, has always been. But also using that leverage, go and arrange a global framework of arms race framework that can ensure that we're not killing ourselves in the middle. Now, what does it mean for every one of us? What I would do if I were in any organization, I would do two things. First, I would dive into AI. I would get put my foot in the water, because you have to have that friction. Even if it, at this point, creates some degree of risks, and obviously there's mitigation to those risks. I would get the best security companies. Obviously, Lasso is the best, but I'm not doing any self-promotion. I'll just tell you that when I finished as Prime Minister, I was approached by about, I would say, 80 different companies in Israel, and I chose Lasso because it's the single best team in the state of Israel with the best scientists, the best engineers, that, they did all those weird stuff that people sometimes read. And by the way, if someone's impolite, do not turn on your pager today. Don't. There are some slow responders here. And I would not evade it. I would engage with it because it's going to be this ongoing process of development. You always want to be on top of it, so you can't hide from it. You want to be part of it. And I know this has been a bit scary, just a bit, but the upside of AI is huge. I am still optimistic that society will be able to respond in a good way, but we're all going to have to work really really fast and very focused on an ongoing basis to ensure that this is a boon to the world and not something else. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you very much.